So, you ready to go?
No.
All right, well, I guess the video's over then.
So, Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on Star Wars Episode 7?
I like it. I think it's a good, fun reboot. Of course, I'm always a fan of J.J. Abrams because he did
J.J. Abrams is fantastic.
He did a stellar job with the Star Trek reboot.
Considering the fact that it's like 30 years after the original trilogy ended, The Force Awakens had a monumental task ahead of it. It basically had to reintroduce us to the world of Star Wars. It had to bring in an entirely new cast of characters.
30 years of nostalgia to deal with.
Right. And with probably the most finicky and picky fan base of all time.
Riot!
Yeah.
Star Wars fans are the type of people that basically it's like, if anything is slightly out of line of what they wanted, it's...
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
So, we're gonna go through different elements of the movie. For all of you who aren't watching, I'm making a lot of hand motions. We're gonna go through the different elements of the movie.
I just want to talk about the characters. That's all I thought about.
Okay, well, you can talk about the characters. I'll talk about the movie structure because that's something that I really like about The Force Awakens.
Wow.
So we'll talk about the characters first. And as you're something of a writer yourself, right?
I dabble.
Finn's a good character to start off with.
Finn is a good character. Finn's a fun character, partly just because of the humor that they incorporate, because things like John Boyega yells...
Why does everyone want to go back to Jakku?
John Boyega.
Yeah.
And he's also like just such like a... he seems like a good dude, just like in real life.
Yeah, like he'd be fun to hang out with.
Yeah. I would hang out with John Boyega.
So would I.
If you're watching this video, hit us up. But as Finn, he's also selfish, all self-centered. What with the whole like...
Yeah.
He's rescuing Poe mostly to get himself out. He's concerned with his own survival.
It's a type of selfishness that you understand where it's coming from. I like how they connected it in the sense that Rey is the first person that really looked at Finn as something apart from just being a stormtrooper. Poe.
Poe! He's just a... We're gonna leave Queen alone. What?
He's just a Poe boy from a Poe family.
Well, it's not true that nobody loves him because we love him. I got that from Tumblr. I didn't come up with that, regrettably. Poe has all the cool factor that Han Solo's fan base thinks that Han Solo has.
Yeah.
Well, Your Highness, guess this is it.
That's right.
Don't get all mushy on me. So long, Princess.
Everything's under control. Situation normal.
I just assumed it was a Wookiee.
I can arrange that. You could use a good kiss.
Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
I don't know how we're gonna get out of this one.
Who is this? What's your operating number?
We're talking about Poe right now.
I'm done talking about Poe. I've moved on to Chewie.
Are you done with talking about Poe?
Yeah, he's a cool flyboy. And also, like, you know, brave under fire and he's got a good sense of humor.
Rey. Let's talk about Rey.
Rey. A drop of golden sun. I like Rey a lot. I really appreciate how much silent acting Daisy Ridley pulls off in like the first 5 minutes of her character introduction. She's clearly finding parts that she can use. She looks like the old alien lady who's like doing the exact same thing that she is, and you can just see it in her face. Like, am I gonna be here for the next 40 to 50 years? I don't think I want to be here that long. She's like obviously trapped on the planet, and then like when you learn that she was abandoned and she's waiting for family to come back, like it's like, oh baby.
That's kind of the thing she has to overcome throughout the movie, is the sense of moving on.
You specifically wanted me to talk about her Mary Sue accusations.
Yes.
Not only is Mary Sue perfect, but like every character that meets her like loves her unreasonably. So like Mary Sue is supposed to be proficient with like everything. So she's able to fly the Millennium Falcon, she's able to repair the Millennium Falcon, she's able to like hold her own in a fight. As far as repairing and flying the Millennium Falcon, She almost crashes it, getting off the planet.
Because the movie's called The Force Awakens, like, there's multiple times in the movie that Rey does something really amazing, and then she's like, oh, I guess I got lucky that time. But as you go throughout the movie, you start realizing...
It's more and more apparent that, no, she's very Force-sensitive and has no idea.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the fighting aspect. She fights on Jakku with the staff. That's just kind of part of her world. That she has to fight for her life a lot.
I mean, if you live on a planet with a bunch of scavengers...
And there's the fight at the end of the movie on whatever that place is.
Starkiller Base.
Yes. The fight on Starkiller Base when they're fighting and then she suddenly gets the upper hand. But in that moment, like, he's A, wounded, and B, just had spent some energy in fighting Finn. And then C, like, he tells her, like, I'll teach you to use the Force. When he says that, she's like, the Force. And then she stops and focuses for a second. So it's like she's clearly tapping into the Force in that moment.
It's that same type of moment with Luke in the first movie. Like, in the first Star Wars movie where, you know, he's losing against the drone and all of a sudden he taps into the Force and he manages to block all the blasts. Or, you know, he taps into the Force and he manages to get the torpedoes exactly on target.
If Rey's a Mary Sue, so is Luke Skywalker.
You can look at the surface level arguments and say, Rey is a Mary Sue. Like, if you dig a little bit underneath, Han, who has lost his child, in a sense, to the dark side...
a girl who
who respects.
With. Yeah, he respects. And she likes the same things that he likes. And he's like, huh.
Yeah, like, there's reasoning behind her being liked besides just, well, I just need all these characters to like her.
Yeah.
So...
Also, like, Finn and Rey get into arguments, and like most classic Mary Sue's, like, why would you argue with them? They're perfect and they're right.
Especially the scene where she's trying to fix the Millennium Falcon, and she's like getting increasingly annoyed that Finn's not getting the right tool.
It brings us to Rey's adoptive father, Han.
This is probably the best acting that Harrison Ford has done in a Star Wars movie since The Empire Strikes Back. Obviously, like, in a meta perspective, you kind of see that they probably put Han and Leia on back to doing the things they were doing in the first Star Wars movie for nostalgia's sake. But at the same time, I think J.J. Abrams and the people behind the writing of the movie found a way to integrate that nostalgia into the story because of the trauma and the tragedy that they faced with losing their son.
To what they're, like he states it, like he goes back to what he's good at. I love that Chewie's introduced as like not really different from the previous movies. I enjoyed the funness between Leia and Han. That like, yeah, they're estranged, yeah, they're having issues, but also
they still love each other.
They still love each other. I always find it really sad the moment when Han dies and Leia's face just shows like that touch of Skywalker Force sensitivity. She knows that her husband just died.
Yeah. You want to talk about Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker?
The amount of drama that man packed into those 5 seconds was gorgeous.
He turns around and he's just like... Kylo Ren. Talk about Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren. Oof. They definitely set him up to be very intriguing. I liked the introduction in the village with the old man being like, I know where you come from, I know your heritage, and he's like, screw you. I just kind of enjoyed that, like, he's so menacing, he's so scary, and then he takes the helmet off, and it's like, you're 12! He looks like an 18-year-old kid, and you're like, you're not anywhere near as menacing as you want to think you are. Like, he's so, like, conflicted with his whole dark side thing versus his heritage, and he's, like, appealing to his dad for help, and it's like, you are nowhere near on the level of Darth Vader, even though you want to be. I think, like, Vader acts with this sense of utter control and indifference, and Kylo Ren loses his temper, and it's, like, clearly not in control of himself.
Yeah.
And that's
Vader's cold and calculated.
Yeah.
Kylo is... he loses his temper. I'm not the first person to point this out, but I'd like to at least mention it. I like the fact that they were going to create a villain, and obviously people were going to compare this villain to Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they rolled into it and just basically made him a Vader fanboy. Like he's purposely trying. Yeah, like he's purposely trying to be Darth Vader, and he's not, and it's kind of great.
Yeah.
So going into the plot, for me, The Force Awakens is actually my second favorite Star Wars movie. I think the pacing in this movie is only second to The Empire Strikes Back.
It's very well paced.
Yeah, like the movie just flows. Like scene goes into scene, and you you hardly even notice that it's going by, you know, which is the sign of really good pacing. And plus the fact that they're able to introduce all the new characters, and like Han Solo doesn't even jump on board into the story until probably like maybe a third of the way through, maybe like
something like that, yeah.
like maybe even more than that.
I mean, if you can start off a Star Wars movie without any of the original cast, and the audience is still like completely hooked, like, I think you're doing pretty good. Yeah.
So overall, I think the pacing was fantastic. John Williams, as always, is fantastic with that. Rey's theme, the Resistance theme, they're all...
Rey's theme is... I really like Rey's theme because it's so buoyant and optimistic, and it's got this...
You said plucky.
Plucky! Yeah, it's a plucky theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Good song.
Yeah.
Yeah, they captured the magic well, I think.
Yeah. This movie did a good job of bringing that nostalgia back, and I know everyone since then has jumped on the bandwagon of like, oh my gosh, it's just a copy of Episode 4. It's like... That's kind of the point. It's supposed to bring you back into Star Wars.
I would agree with that. I think J.J. Abrams is a delightful director, and I would trust him with any epic adventure.
Thank you for watching this video and
putting up with him.
And putting up with me, especially. But yes, thank you.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe to the video. Share it if you want, and